Hey all, welcome to Monday, welcome to Countdown Day here on the channel, and as voted on by fans, we have amassed all of the results for the top 10 worst Transformers alt modes. That's going to be our topic this time around in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below, also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And as I said, this is, as voted on by fans, the top 10 worst Transformers alt modes. Not robot modes, alt modes. We have 4 honorable mentions. These ones got votes. Of course, they did not make the list. They include G1 Gunrunner, which I believe was a vehicle mode for like one of the Action Master Elites or something, if I'm not mistaken. Leader Class Legacy Blitzwing's plane mode. I get it because it's an atrocious plane mode. If you're looking top down on it, it's okay. Every other angle, it's terrible. Cybertron Metroplex had an honorable mention, or had enough votes to be an honorable mention, with everybody saying, I've never seen one of these bucket wheel excavator things. This looks like a made-up thing. I mean, it's not, as I showed in the reviews last week. It is a real thing, but it is definitely an oddity and something that I think most people probably have never seen in their life. And Titan's Return Fortress Maximus and his base mode, because, you know, it's just him lied down with his arms out and his legs doing the splits. Although that said, and I've said this many, many times, there's umpteen ways that you are able to do fan modes and whatnot there for him to get something that's a better approximation of G1. But there you go, that's our honorable mentions for just terrible alt modes. They include, once again, Cybertron Metroplex, the Legacy Blitzwing Jet mode, the G1 Gunrunner, and Titan's Return Fortress Maximus's base mode. None of them made the list. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do as we always do, and we're going to kick things off with number 10 first. Coming in at number 10, we stick with the Legacy line and Skullgrin with his tank. Now, I don't actually hate this because the original tank, or I should say the original Skullgrin, of course, had a little bot inside that was like purpley and gray. He turned into a tank, and his treads were on the back. I don't think on the front either. But again, it was like a Cybertronian tank. Here, I have added treads that are printed by our buddy Grimlock on to the front, but I understand without the ones on the front, like these little ones on the back, do not seem like they could hold up all of this weight. It also has like you can kind of see through the center here where you collapse the hips. It doesn't bother me, and I don't mind it, but I understand how a lot of people do. And a lot of people said these sword things, like, it's nice that they were included, but there's nowhere nice to store them on the robot mode or the vehicle mode, and they end up just looking cumbersome. Not to mention that they're this soft rubbery plastic, which is not cool. The lackluster offering of a Cybertronian tank mode for the Legacy Skullgrin takes the number 10 slot. Those that voted for number 9 done it with the resounding, what the hell is that? And it's Siege Soundwave. This is supposed to be some sort of like a spaceship battle cruiser thing, and it's not great. I haven't transformed this in quite a while. I probably have some of it done wrong, and I don't really care at this point. We can all see that this is weird. That said, I do have the Shockwave Labs kit on it, so this can do 1 or 2 approximations of the cassette player mode, and it can do the lamppost mode. But the stock mode it's supposed to have is this spaceship, and it's the least aerodynamic, least ship-looking thing I think I've ever seen. Yes, there's a little tiny cockpit section here, but look at the front of this thing. What sort of a ship in space, in the air, anywhere has a squared off front? I don't know. This was a nice try at something, but I think it's a little too Cybertronian for most fans, and they did not like the alt mode, and this guy, as great as the robot is, takes the number 9 slot. Number 8 for worst alt modes goes all the way back to the Transformers Earthrise line and Soundbarrier. Now I have misplaced my Soundbarrier. I don't know exactly where he is. I have an idea where he is, but I didn't want to try and dig him out, so I dug out this guy. It is the version of Soundbarrier, I can't remember this guy's name, that came with the Netflix War for Cybertron Optimus Prime. It's the exact same thing, where the robot is underneath and his transformation is basically tabbing in his two arms, tabbing his feet together, and flipping down this one piece. On Soundbarrier, this is known to break. A lot of people said the translucent back here on the hinges cracks off, no problemo. I haven't had issue with Soundbarrier or this guy, but yeah, Soundbarrier, or I suppose his remold. Dude turns into a plank, a piece of board, something to walk on. Takes the number 8? Yeah, 8 slot. Coming in at number 7, we go to the Kingdom line, and this guy. Not the Ark, but the guy who came with the Ark. It is an homage to Action Master Mainframe. Mainframe turns into a computer. This one turns into both a computer, that being Teletran 1, and it's quite flat as that computer. And if you fold them up another way, this is so weird, it's apparently the bridge of the Ark. I understand that he's an Action Master, so it's okay for him to be a robot with no real functional alt mode. And I think the nods to his alt mode are neat, but man, such weird, useless things overall. Although a lot of people would say Teletran 1 was extremely useful. People might say there's a lot of trauma on the bridge of the Ark, with the whole battle and the crash and whatnot. I don't know. I think that these are iffy alt modes. I half agree with the fans. I see the homage and I respect it, but I also see why it's useless. Yeah, Mainframe takes the number 7 slot. Number 6 is one of those, well, I guess this has to turn into something, and it goes again to Earthrise and the Quintesson Judge. I mean, I guess this is supposed to be some sort of a base thing, and like this is where you can lock up like little Kranix or something. Some have said that this is a Quintesson ship, but like this just rests on the top. The faces just fold up. Let's be realistic here. And there's nowhere really for these arms to go. Let's be realistic here. This is a nothing that turned into a nothing. And a Quintesson Judge doesn't need to transform. Never did it on the show, never had an alt mode, wasn't really a transformer. Just the creation of Quintus Prime. I respect that they tried to make panels and stuff flip, but all you really did was frustrate fans by having them have to put on 2 out of the 5 faces. That was the worst transformation aspect of this. As for the look of this thing, I guess if you have a bunch of them and you want to connect them as some sort of a Quintesson hub, you could. But you got to be awful creative. You got to really squint and look to make anything out of this gobbledygook mess. I love the Judge, don't love the alt mode. And it takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd because we've reached the ever-coveted, ever-popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we go back to Titan's Return and Broadside. Specifically Broadside's jet mode, this thing. I think most of us, myself included, have figured out some fan-moded version where it's a sleeker, flatter jet. When I done the review of Broadside, I actually showed that fan version. But this is the official version. I have no understanding of how this would fly or stay in the air. I don't know why the cockpit is as gigantic as it is. To be fair, while the jet version took the lead because everybody said there's no way that that thing could fly, and why are the wings right under it? Where's the landing gear and stuff? Some people did vote for the aircraft carrier mode and said it's just way too small. And some people voted for the robot and said the robot's okay, but like your wings are kind of cumbersome sticking out there, and the whole cockpit is just folded up on the dude's back. I mean, one hella backpack. Broadside, he has struggled through all of his modes, but none more than the terrible jet mode, and it took the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4, we go to Revenge of the Fallen and this mess. That's right, it is the Fallen himself. This is the Studio Series version of him. He's supposed to be like a Cybertronian spaceship jet thing, and I think the original like captured that. I'm not going to say well, because it didn't capture it well, but at least you could move the feet and stuff as like wings and whatnot and be like, I guess. This thing in Studio Series, to me it seems more inaccurate, but I'm sure it is more accurate. A few people that voted for it describe this as like space crab. I don't really see a crab. It just looks like a whole bunch of pointy space bits. I wouldn't even know what direction this honestly goes in. I wouldn't know what is left, right, front, or back for the most part. It's a gobbledygook mess. Accurate, cool-looking robot, But man, what a disaster of an alt mode. Studio Series, Revenge of the Fallen. The Fallen takes the number 2, no, not 2, 4 slot. Coming in at number 3 we have this. It's Rung, and apparently this is a cerebral circuit scanner. I mean, this is the most made-up stick if I've ever seen a made-up stick in all of Transformers. I think it's more a medical device, but my understanding is, and I, of course, as we all know, can't stand the IDW comics, so I never read it, but this apparently was part of his gimmick. Like, nobody really knew what this was or what he was or who he was, so it all kind of went part and parcel for Rung. Spoiler, he was Primus all along. But yeah, number 3, and the cerebral circuit scanner, the most made-up thing that I could think of, is, yeah, Rung at the number 3 slot. Coming in at number 2, we go all the way back to G1 and Megatron. This is the Dr. Wu version of Megatron. That's his little pistol mode. I do have the Hegemon, the Toy World Hegemon, that does turn into the pistol. But everybody kind of said that voted for this guy said the same thing. While G1 didn't turn into a tank, and a lot of people now detest that he turns into a tank or plane, at least when he's a tank or plane, he is self-sufficient, he is able to operate himself. When he turns into this, he's useless unless somebody is wielding him. For a faction leader, for a powerful faction leader, for a gladiatorial champion, to have an alt mode that can only function when somebody else is using him seems a little counterproductive, seems a little counterintuitive, seems a little foolish. And for that reason, this alt mode was deemed to be one of the worst, and it took the number 2 slot. And now here we are, very tippy-top number 1. And number 1 sticks with the live-action movies. This one goes to Studio Series, and it goes to not Rise of the Beast, it goes to the Bumblebee movie, and this guy. That's right, it is Bumblebee movie, Studio Series, Soundwave. And like, people said it looks like a gaming console. People said it's supposed to be some sort of a hovercraft. Some people said it's a hover rectangle. It's a rough-looking square. I can't call it a cube because it's too flat to be a cube, so I'm going to call it a square. A lot of people said, you just fold up his limbs and he turns into a nothing. Here's the thing. When you see the concept art and whatnot for the actual movie, you look at this mode and you're like, you know what? That's not... I see how this is supposed to be a hovercraft type of thing. Then you see it executed in plastic and it's abstract failure. Or an abstract. It's an absolute failure. It's an abject failure, I guess. I wanted to like the Soundwave. I didn't get it. I didn't need it. But I've seen a lot of fan modes that turn him into some sort of a Cybertronian tank. And I think the fan modes for Soundwave are infinitely more successful than the actual mode. And that says a lot about the failure of design. Soundwave from the Bumblebee movie takes the number 1 slot. And that's it, man. We've gone from 10 down to 1 once again for worst Transformers alt modes as voted on by fans. Other ones that got votes that did not appear on the list include G2 Swindle, G1 Galvatron, being that stationary cannon thing, the FOC Dancing Lever, I don't know what that is, Earthspark Megatron, Revenge of the Fallen Ravage, the Studio Series one that turns into that block thing, and it's not Revenge of the Fallen, it's Rise of the Beast Ravage, sorry. Revenge of the Fallen Ravage did have votes too as well, since he's supposed to be some sort of a spaceship, but it's really just him lying down. Prime Megatron, Wheelie, Action Master, Elite Windmill, the Nerf Megs, I assume that's the classic Megatron, Big Convoy, Octane, being a tanker in the middle of battle, 07 live action Megatron, Metroplex, being a city, somebody else has to defend it, right? Bolt, Fulcrum, Ambulon, RID 2001 Megabolt, Cerebros, not being a head, but being his tower when he's part of the base mode. Blot, because he's just some sort of a weird monster thing. Earthrise RC, Reflector, both because to be a camera you need 3 of him, or if you're talking about the Siege Reflector by himself, as like, again, that spaceship, like it's not a very convincing spaceship, it's pretty rough. Skybite being a flying shark. Ejector, who turned into a toaster. Loose Deuce, the bot Loose Deuce, who... he's poo. He turns into poo. What else can I say there? Scourge, Core Class Daniel, that's the little one that came with the Core Class buzzworthy Bumblebee, and he's just one piece, and his transformation is like tipping him over. He's just terrible. Exosuit Spike, which was a Core Class as well. G1 Starscream, because if you lose his parts, he's just like a fuselage with no wings or anything. G1 Broadside Cosmos, because it's just a UFO. It's the most the most conspicuous thing it could be. Poor old Ratbat. He always gets the raw end of the deal. Gaia Unicron. That would be the Transformers Prime Unicron that turned into Unicron's head, basically. Let's say, Titan's Return, 6-shot, and his submarine mode. Not very convincing at all. Those and more had boats. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. Let me know where your favorites landed on the list. Please, if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel, and don't forget, not for 1 second, not for one moment, that somehow, someway, each and every single day, you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way, right here inside the videos.